In Money Watch, stop me if you've heard this before, gas prices climbed overnight here in the U.S. Now the average is $4.32 a gallon. Errol Barnett is at Reagan National Airport in Arlington, Virginia, with a closer look at how rising prices are impacting other travel expenses.
I think it's like outrageous.
Across the country, Americans are feeling the pinch at the pump.
$85 just for this time. And I'm just going to use this for what, 3 to 4 days?
A recent poll from AAA finding almost 60% surveyed said they would make changes to their driving habits with gas above $4 per gallon. If it reaches $5 per gallon, as it has in some states, 3/4 said they would need to adjust their lifestyle. Emmanuel, who did not want to provide his last name, is an Uber and Lyft driver in Washington. High prices forcing him to add 4 extra hours to his 10-hour shifts each day. Sounds really grueling if you're going to have to work a 14-hour day to earn the same amount of money. How does that make you feel?
Oh, really? It makes you feel sometimes like you are sick, but you are tired, not sick.
And air travelers are also seeing high prices at a time when COVID restrictions are being eased and there's pent-up travel demand. CBS News senior travel editor Peter Greenberg says airline prices are up 20% and will likely creep higher, partly due to jet fuel costs, which are also increasing. That's prompted Alaska and Allegiant Airlines to cut some flights.
You have a big problem here where you're cutting routes, you're cutting capacity, and you're increasing fares. How bad is it going to be this summer when you see that happening right now?
Now, the universal message from travel analysts is that now is the time to buy your airline tickets for summer travel because demand will only tick up in the weeks ahead. And we've been looking into airline tickets and rideshare prices, but you can expect this to be taking place across the board. Cruise ships, rental cars, bus fares will all be more steep here in the next month or so. Vlad and Anne-Marie.
Okay, Errol, thank you very much. For more on that report, let's bring in Lori Bettinger for more on this. She's the president of BancAlliance and the former director of the Troubled Asset Relief Program. Lori, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about rising inflation, because one of the things that has been pointed out is that the economy is strong overall, and wages are increasing, but they are not keeping pace with inflation. So how long can Americans expect to see rising prices like this?
That's the big question. As you said, we're just seeing these price increases everywhere. We just heard about the rise in energy prices, which I think so many of us see immediately in terms of gas prices, whether you're filling up your own car or just driving down the street and passing a gas station that has prices that, you either haven't seen in a very long time or perhaps you've never even seen in your lifetime. And at this point, I think the question is, so as we've mentioned, the economy feels strong, the labor markets are holding up, but at what point does this really start to affect the spending of so many Americans, particularly those that, really gas and energy prices and food prices, another area where we're seeing a lot of, upward prices. When does that start to affect your discretionary spending? Like you can think of it as your wants rather than your needs.
So where are we seeing the biggest price increases?
So we're seeing the biggest price increases, as we've heard time and time again, in energy, predominantly gas. We're seeing it in food, then restaurants, not surprisingly, and transportation, which, as we just heard, is very dependent on the prices of gas. A little bit in apparel as well, but I really think those initial categories are where people are being hit in the wallet and seeing those rising prices every day.
So we talked about wages, Lori, and we know that they were up about 5.1% from a year ago. That's what last week's job report showed.
Right.
Inflation is high. People are falling behind. And in the meantime, gas prices, of course, are soaring to record levels. And we should point out they were going up before the invasion. So, this has just exacerbated the increase of price of gas, which is now $4.32. Put this in perspective. I mean, now we're talking about multiple factors impacting American consumers.
Absolutely. And we just heard on the previous segment, I think there was a statement that if gas prices went up to $5, three-quarters of the respondents said that they would, cut down on spending. And let's go back to the job report on Friday, which was, again, great. We added almost 700,000 jobs. The unemployment rate was down. But, the category that really drove a lot of that increase was hospitality and leisure. Again, that's spending that's discretionary. You do that when you have extra money to spend. And, if we go back to what we just heard, if gas prices keep going up and food prices keep going up, which are really core to, what you have to buy as an American family, I think we will start to see some pullback in some of those other categories. And you have to worry, can the labor market hold up there? And, when you're seeing these wage increases, but they're below inflation with the whole basket. And even if we take out energy and food, I think that number is still up 6.4% this month versus 6% prior. I think that the consumers are going to be able to afford to purchase less.
So 227,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment last week. That's up 11,000 from the previous week's numbers, and this comes after 3 consecutive weeks of declines. So what does the report mean for the status of the economic recovery?
I think that, to me, I wouldn't say that there's a hugely material change in this report, or that we should say, oh, the jobs market is hitting a bump. Clearly for those, for anyone who had to file for the first time for unemployment claims, this is a big deal, and I never want to minimize that. But, I think when you look at the 4-week average, there was very little change. This is, again, a relatively small increase. We're still coming off of the very strong jobs report for jobs created on Friday. So I don't think I see this as a warning sign that that part of the economy is, starting to suffer. I think it's just, one of these weekly changes in the numbers that we've come to expect.
All right. Lori Bettinger, thank you very much.